Hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening, in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepak R. Khemani, and I am one of the co founders of Bloom. Along with my other two co founders, Abhijit and Payal. There she is in that corner. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this 261st 261st non-stop Sunday Bloom talk show. For 261 weeks, ever since COVID started, we have been there at this time every Sunday for you. Be it rain or shine, online or offline, Sunday afternoon 12:30 India time is the time to log in and listen in and participate in the Sunday Bloom talk show. Over a period of 260 weeks, we have spoken with leaders, speakers, trainers, coaches, change makers, doctors, nurses, pilots, athletes, you name it. And these people have graced our platform. A few of us, like the few of our guests, are a little bit mad, MAD. All are these people who are wanting to make a difference. Continuing that series, we have a very special guest who is joining us today. The topic also is a little bit interesting. Why? Because it is different. What is the difference? We talk about storytelling, and just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a storyteller who was talking to us about storytelling with children and storytelling in life. Today, we are talking about storytelling in corporates, and especially how stories can drive corporate results with Richa Wahi, who is a storytelling mentor and also a strategist. So, first of all, welcome to the show, Richa.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Thank you, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you, Bloom. I'm so happy to be a part of this. Thank you, Payal. And happy to connect and talk about stories, something which I love. And I can talk endlessly. Yeah,
So we have this one full hour which you get to keep on talking endlessly, and there will be times when I will interrupt you with my questions, a few
absolutely.
questions coming in from Payal and maybe Abhijit too. However, normally whenever any guest comes on the show and we have his or her bio, or we would probably read out their LinkedIn, profile. Instead of me doing that, let me throw this to you, Richa. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, why you do, and why this particular niche within storytelling, where you are talking about, corporate results and storytelling. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Over to you.
I think I lost you in between. I'm sorry.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
idea was that instead of me introducing you, tell us a little
Yes.
bit about what you do, why you do, and why this niche of, storytelling within the corporate space and the results. Tell us a little about yours.
Sure. So I'm Richa Wahi. I'm a storytelling mentor, strategist. These are heavy jargons. I'll simply say I'm somebody who loves stories. I believe in the power of stories and conversations. I believe we can change the world one story at a time. And I also believe that the universe is made up of stories, not atoms. Something which I discovered when I discovered storytelling in COVID. So when the world was shut, that stillness actually brought me closer to storytelling, to stories. And I realized that this is something which is happening globally, and people are shifting the boardroom, PowerPoint into narratives. And something, I had a serendipitous meeting with someone who was teaching storytelling in India. And that one chance conversation led me to this career of mine, and I got so much into it that in 2021 I launched my boutique storytelling consultancy firm, which I called Tales That Spin, because I believe narratives have the power to spin the reality. And that's how, the whole journey started. And today till now we have coached leaders, entrepreneurs, we've mentored students, we have done workshops with startups, with corporates, one to one groups, you name it. And it's not a career for me, it's a passion for me. Now when I say that, and of course we use the word very deliberate, oh, I'm very passionate. I'm actually, when I say I'm passionate about it, or it's a passion, because I have seen the results, I have seen people change, I have seen boardroom narratives changing into something beneficial. I have seen stories break the monotony. So I totally, totally believe in this. And that is why, I'm there. And I love to talk about stories. I love to talk about the power of storytelling, how you can use it in corporate, how it is different from your normal storytelling, all this. So that's what I do. Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I see, Abhijit has joined in. And for some strange reason, maybe it is Gokulashtami or Janmashtami or that festive season fever, both of us are wearing a t-shirt. Kya baat hai, Abhijit? What's going on?
So,
So,
so
one story on why you are wearing a t-shirt, and then over to
sure,
you for asking some questions.
sure,
Yes.
sure. So, uh, Richa, I'll just go straight to the point, as that's what in
Yes.
corporates they tell me. So, as a finance person or as an audit person, when I attend audit committees or board meetings, I'm just given you have 15 minutes to make your presentation or your point. Just come to the point. So coming straight to the point, where is the time actually to tell stories? While I understand, I have no doubts that stories are very compelling, inspiring, they can transform, they can impact. And while in a town hall or while in a larger meeting, it may make absolute sense. How do we really tell stories when we're given just 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and that to just make a very factual point?
Totally agree, Abhijit. I am not saying stories can ever replace data. Now, I'll give you an example. When COVID had happened, we were watching the news perversely. We were just looking at the data. We just wanted to know how many percentage of COVID patients are there in which state. Nobody is sitting there to listen to a story. What you can do is, if you have those 15-20 minutes to talk about data, which is very crucial, which you have to present, you can possibly start or end with a story. Now, what will happen is, if you share a personal story about, let's say you're talking about numbers which are not very great and they're presenting some dismal picture, you can talk about some story from your personal repertoire, and you can possibly end with it, just like we add a kind of a tadka to the food to make it
Yeah.
more palatable. The tadka is not the mainstay for the food. The food has to be cooked. Similarly, if you add a narrative somewhere in the end or at the beginning, it will break the monotony and people might remember more of what you said. Otherwise, you're dealing with numbers day in and day out. If I was
Yeah.
to ask you, Abhijit, okay, what was spoken in the fourth presentation, the fifth presentation, it's all numbers. But if you can just add a bit of a story, some personal anecdote somewhere, possibly it will make it more memorable. Stories
I,
cannot replace
I
data.
agree. I agree. But for a story, I believe you need to give some bit of a context. The
Yes,
point is,
yes,
people are not
yes.
willing to listen to the background or the context in certain settings. And in corporates, I'm saying. So when it's corporate story showing, so when a CEO is giving a town hall and he has to inspire and he has to motivate people, obviously he'll tell stories. He's all the time in the world, and in certain sections and almost majority sections, stories can be told to create that impact. The limited point is when you are being very precise with data.
Hmm.
I was under the impression till date that yes, because you need to give a context or you need to give a background which may still consume some small time, which there is no inclination on a senior director on the other side to listen. Stories may not be passive, but there's something which I would like you to elaborate on, because you gave me various frameworks when we discussed in Delhi about stories, which I never knew that there are so many frameworks when you can structure that. So I
Yes.
believe that in every corporate, the
Hmm.
hero's journey would work. So you could tell the story of your organization like a hero, or
Hmm.
maybe as a victim, and then maybe just present data in a storytelling format. So maybe we may need somebody like your skill to actually convert that data in a storytelling form, which also
Absolutely.
that data can be done. So any thoughts on that?
Absolutely, very true. Abhijit, there are numerous frameworks. Depending upon the context, the situation, the time that you have, you can pick up the framework. Now, Hero's Journey is a very elaborate framework which we generally use when we're talking about transformation stories. What was and what is. Possibly more suitable for a town hall or an annual meet. But if you talk about frameworks like CCO, challenge, choice, outcome, It's a very small framework. Key points: what is the problem? What is the decision taken? What happened as a result? Or you have another framework called the moonshot storytelling framework, where we talk about what is the current reality, what is the tension, what is the vision, and what is the path. Now, depending upon the time available, the context, what is the mind of your listeners? So this is something which I also teach in my workshops, what we call as the contextual intelligence. See, if you go to a wedding wearing a swimwear, you will definitely be viral for the wrong reasons. So context is very, very important, so what is the narrative reality of the people who are sitting in that boardroom? What is the background they're coming from, and what is it that they really want to listen? You have to frame your story accordingly. You have to pick a framework accordingly, and frameworks just give you a direction. Sometimes you may not even need them. You can just talk about a story that, this is a situation I was in, say maybe in 2012, and a similar dismal number had flashed in front of me, and it was very, very disappointing. But this was actually a challenge for me, and this is how I mitigated it. So anything either from your personal repertoire, or you have numerous business stories banks available, you can pick up and you can add. Now somebody would say, why would I add? Come to chal raha hai, I'm doing fine. People are listening to my data. They're looking at my numbers. Yes, definitely. What I say is, it makes everything little more memorable. And I give a very simple example to this, that if I ask you, sir, what is the exact definition for a Pythagoras theorem, you may not remember. But if I ask you, okay, who won the race between tortoise and hare, bang will come the reply, tortoise won the race. Something which you heard as a toddler, you remember, but something which you studied in class 8, you may not remember. We are wired to remember stories. When you hear a story, there is a section called the mirror neuron which gets activated. And that mirror neuron ensures that the neural activity of the listener and the teller is the same. Today, if you watch a movie, let's say you watch Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar, where there's a race in the end, and you are biting your nails, who's going to finish? Why are you biting your nails? Why are you so involved? Because of these mirror neurons, because the story is activated it. So your neural activity and the teller's activity is at the same level. You think you are on that bicycle and you are racing towards the finishing line. That is the power of stories. And also, everywhere you may not need a story. So this is also one exercise we do. You may not need a story. You don't need a story. Simply give your data and that's it. You can't infuse a story at every goddamn place. So that's also we do an exercise when not to use a story. Sometimes data is so important and it has to be spoken in such a crisp and quick manner that a story might derail or delay. So leave it for the time being. Keep it for something when you have more time. Keep it at a time when you really want to motivate your audience. Keep it for that time. If data is strong enough and people are in a mood only to listen to numbers, don't add story. I would say that. But if you think the story can be like a ribbon bow on your gift wrap, just add it, just share it, possibly take 1 minute, but somebody might remember you on that day because of the story you've told,
Fine,
with
perfect.
or without flow.
So
Sorry.
lot of quick takeaways for me. I think you use the word contextual intelligence, you use the word narrative reality, you use the word situation then, situation now. So obviously a lot of directors or a lot of senior management want to know from a presentation where were we to where we are now in terms of what we call as the risk management efficiency or the control effectiveness. So maybe to be slightly different or unique or memorable, as you say, we could contextually give where were we to where we are now, to a situation earlier to a situation now, and how we navigated it. So we could make the same point slightly differently, which I completely buy in. And I'm with you also that where data has to be there, then don't infuse it with a story just because storytelling is become a norm or a hype. So I think great takeaways, but that's where I would need uh, another viewpoint is where exactly do we infuse stories? Because it's only because when I speak with thought leaders or experts in storytelling like you, I know, oh, I could have infused a story here. So where you have the skill to easily adapt or adjust a story to a context, to a particular 5 minute time also, how do we as lesser mortals learn that skill?
See, I'll give you an example. Supposing you enter a room where you
Yeah,
have 20 executives and you've come to deliver something, you've got 15 minutes, okay?
yeah.
And you have to give your numbers. People are just waiting for the numbers because that is
Hmm,
the make or break.
hmm,
And you would say, I don't need the story here. Yes, you don't
yeah,
need the story here. But you can just start by sharing a story about how sometime back you had entered a room where 20 executives were waiting and the air conditioning was so low, the temperature was so bone chilling that you actually had, something, some personal anecdote you share. What will that do? It will break the ice. The tempers, the temperaments which are, which are at a certain level, it'll break the ice. It'll make you more human. It'll help you connect with them immediately. Now, इस story का यहाँ पे कोई role नहीं है data में. You've just used it just to break the ice. I'll give another example from the boardroom setting. So after pandemic in 2020, when Airbnb was facing massive cancellations, losses were there, and they had to let go a number of people. One thing was that, okay, you know the situation, you have to let go because the company is facing losses. What different did CEO Brian Chesky did, which actually became a masterclass in corporate storytelling, is he wrote a letter to each individual, to each employee he was letting go, telling him the situation, telling him how this decision is important at this time. Then he went one leg forward. He ensured that these people understand that once the ride becomes better, they can come back. He ensured that they get jobs in different organizations wherever he could. Now, it was not necessary for him to write that letter. What did that letter do? It made him more human. Did it deviate from the path? The data was there. कि ये इतना loss है, you have to let go these many employees. But writing that letter made him more human. People connected with the ethos, people understood his vision, and people understood कि हाँ अगर हम उसके shoes में होते, we would have done the same thing. So the impact was little less. Similarly, in your setting, let's say you have got 15 minutes, you enter a room, you can just use story, any story to break the ice. Now, which story will you use? That's where I'll come in the picture and I can help you. I can just say that
So
because
that's
that
what
will
I'm saying.
depend
How? How?
how, okay. So
So
how will
is it
we,
we need to join some course, or
no,
is it some?
you can just take the help of a story coach like me or anybody who can just understand, okay, this is the data. So that's what also we do. Supposing you have a presentation coming up, people come to us and we say, okay, this is what you want to present. Possibly you can add a little bit of narrative here, and this is how you can restructure and present it. So it will depend what is the data you want to present, what is the audience, what is the age group, everything will be taken care of. What is the age group of the audience, what is the mental setting, how much time do you have, what setting you're presenting in, how many times have you presented this data before, what was the response. Accordingly we can craft or we can help you fish out a story and add it there.
So basically, I need to learn that skill is how to infuse the right story for the right data.
so
Is
so
because when I speak with you, I get the feeling. Obviously, within a second, you could have 5 stories. So that's what when I clearly remember I had done a communication class with a Dutch professional called Chris Baldwin, and I had given him my presentation, and within a few minutes he gave me at least 11 to 12 various ways in which I could have done the start or the middle or the end.
absolutely,
So those
absolutely.
tools which come naturally, obviously, a lot of people here would not be attuned to that skill. So
No,
how do we
I'll,
start developing that skill? So
right,
obviously,
right.
yes, we would, for a shortcut, take the help of a coach. Obviously, yes, you may not
Sure, sure.
be skilled at certain things, so you outsource or you take help. But if we slightly want to improve also, because at many times it would be that we need to give a presentation so suddenly. So how do we get that skill? So do we develop a repertoire of stories as when to use what and what context, or how do we actually go about skilling this?
So if you want to give I mean, if you want to use storytelling, it's like similarly like, if you want a perfect body, you need to be hit after say 3 months, you need to be hitting the gym today.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you want to get in the habit of using stories, and they should come to your own. You have to start using or tickling the storytelling muscle on a daily basis. The first thing you can do is you can start reading the story banks, which talk about a lot of business stories. And as you read them on a regular basis, slowly and gradually, your mind will start to use the right story at the right time. And there are numerous ways in which you can do it. There are a lot of TED Talks available. There are talks available which tell you how you can change the hook, that is the starting line. So the same thing can be said in 11 or 12 or 13 or 15 different ways. So you can start picking on that. Okay, this is something, if I can change the hook, possibly it will catch better attention. So the thing is, you have to read, you have to start reading the stories. And there is numerous content available, numerous story banks available. There are a number of global storytellers who continuously accumulate these stories and print them, and they're available to you. You just start reading them. If you think that, every time, why should I be taking somebody's help? I should be doing it on my own. The best bet is read different business stories, because business stories will help you two ways. One, you might have a similar setting, and you can simply transport that wisdom into your boardroom. And secondly, it'll enrich your vocabulary. It'll give you words which you can use to build up your narrative intelligence. So same sentence with different kind of words, different vocabularies, can have a different impact. You will learn that also. So the only good way is you have to keep on reading these business stories, different settings, how somebody like you was in a boardroom presenting the data in just 15 minutes. What difference did he do? Possibly there is a story that you can also use. And also you can develop your own personal story bank, you know, something that happened in one particular presentation, which kind of changed your perspective, which kind of brought you closer. Okay, I'll give you an example. So supposing you presented a data in 15 minutes, and there is one person who came to you after the presentation and told you, okay, fine, I was anticipating this and this has happened. So what was the human connect? How did you connect with that person? You can start building your own personal story banks also, that last time this and this thing happened. So that's how I kind of communicated it. But the best bet is, if you want to you start using stories, start reading stories. See, there are only two things in the world: either you say something new, or you say something which has been said in a new manner. Now, finding something new may be difficult, but saying it in a new manner is something which you can always develop. And the best bet is read, read, read. Read stories, read story banks, read the boardroom stories, listen to TED Talks, listen to different kind of hooks. There are 150 ways of starting the same thing, different ways, and see the impact yourself. One time you can use possibly humor, the other time you can use some surprise element, the third time you can have another strategy, and see the impact. Same people, same stuff to be delivered in a different manner. What is the impact? But yes, if you want to start from, let's say, today, just read. There is no other way. You have to read
Fine.
the stories to use the stories.
Thanks. So slightly digressing from corporate story showing is when they say that when you narrate your own stories, they will be more authentic than telling someone else's stories or telling something from whatever people knew slightly differently. Your own personal experiences will come with more passion or will be more unique. The point is that a lot of times a lot of people have that imposter syndrome that my story is not good enough or I just don't have a story. So when we all most of us were in a boot camp, and there were people who were telling their rags to riches story. So the imposter syndrome which hit us is neither we were too poor nor are we too rich. We somewhere as a normal happy-go-lucky, maybe you call middle class, upper middle class, affluent, whatever it is, but nothing new. So in such cases, what is the uniqueness that you would add to the story?
There's one line which I always tell: chase reality, relatability will follow. Okay, be real, relatability will follow. You very rightly said we are neither too poor nor too rich, we're somewhere in the middle. But that's the reality. That's your reality. That's your authenticity. So you can always, and then there are a lot of people who write about this on LinkedIn also, that, being the average person, I was the average kid, I was somewhere in the middle. Your experiences are very, very genuine because they are lived, that is your lived reality. So share that. आपके जैसे बहुत सारे लोग होंगे ऑडियंस में जो कहेंगे हाँ दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट आई वांटेड टू से बिकॉज आई डिडंट हैव दैट आई वाज नॉट रीडिंग अंडर दैट polka light. Neither I was having a Mercedes at my door. I was somewhere in the middle. I had a decent room to study, but I didn't have my favorite car standing in the porch. So this also is a unique experience because this is something which a lot of people would have lived. So say that you don't have to add. See, story sharing does not mean adding unnecessary vulnerability ki oh people should connect. Be real. And what is vulnerability? I'll give you an example. So many times when we share stories, we think मैंने ये किया फिर ये किया ये मेरी story है. The story needs to have a trigger, either external trigger or internal trigger. And a very good example which I always give. So I had a woman come up to me and she's writing a book, and she wanted to talk about how she had lost 22 kilos of weight, which was a great thing on her part, and she had worked very hard for it. So she told me that, okay, I started hitting the gym, and this is my journey. But the story was falling very flat. Why were you hitting the gym suddenly one day? What made you start doing it? We all see the gym, we all see the weighing scale. What is that one thing which helps us to start, to initiate? So then she told me that one day she was at a wedding and she was pretty overweight, and somebody had posted her unfiltered picture on the Instagram. And after that, she got massive trolling from all her so-called close ones. Ki, oh my God, you need to lose weight. How we become so good at advising others. That day, that picture, that trolling was so heavy on her that the next day morning, she was in the gym at 6 o'clock, and she made it a point that next time nobody should be able to mock me. And she started on a journey. And once she started going, she became more healthy. She realized. So the point is, this was the trigger. But without the trigger, the story fell flat. Now, this is how vulnerable this was a vulnerable part which she shared with the world unconsciously, and that actually initiated her onto a journey which culminated with her losing the weight. So again, if you think your story is very ordinary, इसमें तो कुछ भी नहीं है, just share your real story. Relatability will follow. I give another very good example here. So out of all the Urdu shayars that we have Faiz and Meet, Ghalib is always referred to as Chacha Ghalib. You know why? Because he spoke about the ordinary struggles of the day-to-day struggles of the ordinary people. Mir and Faiz were talking about some, love, loss, desire. Ghalib was talking about कि भाई मेरी जेब में पैसे ही नहीं है, मैं क्या अपनी लाइफ को जीऊं, मैं क्या प्यार और मोहब्बत की बात करूं. So the point is, he was very real. And he became so relatable that when you think of Urdu Shairi, his name comes as the first thing in your mind. So be real. Whatever is your real story, share it with people, share it with the audience. People will relate to it automatically. And vulnerability is not emotional oversharing. Vulnerability is the part which you think twice about sharing. Should I write this? Should I share it with people? जहां पे आपको fear आए, समझ लो, that is the vulnerable part of your story. And that if you share, if you're comfortable, people will relate to it, definitely. And what your story is, a lot of people will have a similar story. Somewhere in the middle. Just giving an example. Lot of people today are army kids, and you see a lot of people talk about how as an army kid, this is the trials and the tribulations I faced. People relate. Whatever is your real story, share it. Even if you think कि मेरी लाइफ में कोई स्ट्रगल ही नहीं था, I was like happy go lucky, कुछ था ही नहीं. You share that, people will say कि हाँ exactly, मैं भी यही सोच रहा था कि मेरी लाइफ में कोई स्ट्रगल क्यों नहीं है. Why am I not struggling for something? सब कुछ फ्लैटर पे क्यों आ रहा है? मैंने तो थोड़ी सी मेहनत की थी. I scored 96%. I got through SRCC. मुझे स्ट्रगल ही नहीं हुआ. तो ये भी एक लाइफ का यॉनर है जिसमें बहुत सारे लोग कनेक्ट करेंगे. हमें लगता है कि अरे इसमें कुछ नहीं है. शेयर कीजिए, रियलिटी को शेयर कीजिए, रिलेटेबिलिटी विल फॉलो. That's my mantra. Yes. Sorry, you saying something? Abhijit, you mute.
Abhijit sir, you are mute.
if you are
So we lost your video and audio both, Abhijit. Yeah.
yeah. So if you are real, relatability will follow. And there was one more thing what you said is don't overdo your vulnerability.
Yeah.
Is don't so where the last question before I hand over to Deepak is how do you balance? Don't get carried away with too much emotion. So how do you be crisp, concise? So a lot of people when they go about their story, they just go on and on. So
Yeah.
what exactly is the right time
Yeah.
and the right emotion or the right connect? That's something also will come with experience. I know and maybe just
Now, I'll give you a
practicing with
technique for this. I'll
yeah.
give you a big 5 minute technique for this, which you can do, which can help you improve your presentations also. Because story and telling, these are the two parts of storytelling. Story to हुआ content. Content is huge. AI, thanks to AI, इतना content है. Then what is the differentiator? The telling, how you deliver. Many times we go to the cinema, we see a great story, but कितना बेकार acting था. So the telling is very very important. और जैसे जैसे हम AI world में जा रहे हैं, telling is going to be more important. How do you tell? कहानीकार ने कहानी को कहा कैसे? वो ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. So I'll give you a technique. It's called record and review. Okay, you make a 5 minute video of whatever story you plan to narrate, or even if you don't want to narrate, you have a story, you make a 5 minute video. And after making the video, just mute the video first thing and just see yourself. How are your expressions? How is your hand movement? How are you saying? Okay. Second thing, just keep the video off, just listen to the video. उसमें आपको पता चलेगा आपकी आवाज कैसे जा रही है, वॉइस मॉड्यूलेशन हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा, आर यू गोइंग फ्लैट, आर यू सेइंग द सेम थिंग एट द सेम पिच, द सेम tempo, or do you need to dilate your voice? Third is just read the transcription. Now, when you read the transcription, you will realize possibly there are lines which you're repeating, which you don't know while saying, but when you read them, how many times you're saying, oh, what are those blanks you are given? There are things which you are repeating. There are lines which might be unnecessary, which you don't need to do. Once you read the transcription, you will edit the unnecessary parts, and
Yes.
possibly at the end of this exercise, you'll have a
Yeah.
crisp 5 minute speech. And the
Yes.
litmus test would be the audience. Present it to the audience and take their feedback. I
Yeah.
always say the biggest difference between public speaking and storytelling is public speaking practice you can do alone in the mirror in front of your phone also. Storytelling always needs an audience. It is their feedback which will tell you where you've gone wrong or right, what part was boring, what was interesting, what was so unnecessary. So you always and start with a low risk group. And the best bet is if you want to practice storytelling, start going to open mics. That's the best bet. A lot of open mics happen in every city. Go there, present your story, and take the raw feedback. It will help. If you don't want to do that, start with a low risk group, your friends, your family, whosoever is willing to listen to you. Start with that and see their response and get their feedback. Feedback is very important as a storyteller to hone your skill. It
Fine,
cannot happen without it.
thank you. I think we used this technique for improving our communication or our body language, but I think reading the transcript and editing
It's
the
very important.
unnecessary
You can
is something
trim the
else. So,
parts.
so while I'm just handing over to Deepak, I think just one is it's easy to curtail down it's easy to curtail down a story also. It's easy to also talk unnecessarily, which we do, but what do you think is just the right time? Maybe a 3 minute, 2 minute, 4 minute, or it should not be below 1 minute or over 5 minutes. Any minimum max here as a
Yeah.
formula?
So max to max, it should not exceed 5 minutes. More than
Okay,
5 minutes is too much. So
okay.
generally, if you're giving an intro story, try to wrap it up between 1 to 1.5 minutes.
Okay, 1 to 1.5 is the right
Intro.
space.
Supposing
Yeah.
somebody tells you, okay, introduce yourself. People go on saying, oh, I did BTech from here, MBA from here, X organization. Don't do that. Try to say what is your why on this earth, what is that thing that brings you joy, what is your why as a person, and talk about that in 1 to 1.5 minutes. This is an exercise I do with a lot of leaders, because when you tell them, okay, introduce, they will straight away start from, I've been a CXO for 25 years, I XOG the Google, Meta, this, that, because that is the pride they have. These big organizations I've worked with.
Yeah.
What are you minus the designation, minus the organization, minus your BTech MBA, minus your 12th ka percentage? What are you as a person? Who are you? What is it that you bring on the table on this earth? What is your why? What is that something that only you can do and nobody else?
Yes.
Everybody, there are a lot of BTechs, MBAs, a lot of chartered accountants, a lot of this, that. A lot of
Yeah.
people have worked in Meta, Google, Tech Mahindra, this, that. What is you? What is your uniqueness? Try to sum that up in 1 to 1.5. If your introduction goes up to 5 minutes, you have already failed. Nobody is listening. People shut down after that first minute. They start looking at their phone. They start looking ki khatam kab karega. There's another thing which I share in my workshops, which Javed Akhtar ji has said. You know, we have come to a situation, we are not listening to talk. We are waiting to talk. I am waiting कि आप चुप करो फिर मैं बोलना शुरू करूं. So this is the situation we are in. We are not listening. We are waiting to talk. कि आप चुप हो जाओ, आप मेरी बारी है. So उस केस में स्टोरी टेलिंग बहुत जरूरी है, because that is how you will catch the attention. Otherwise, first 30 seconds, 60 seconds, people start looking at the phone. They start waiting. अरे कॉफी नहीं आई, अरे अब ये चुप कब करेगा, अब मेरा चांस कब आएगा. That is what is happening. We've been to numerous auditoriums, conference room. This is the precise reality. They might cluster a smile because if you're a senior, they'll nod also, but internally they've shut off. So introduction 1 to 1.5, and if you're there on the stage, 5 minute ke baad, just that's enough. 5 minutes is more than enough.
So a lot of I think Deepak will bash me up if I take more time, but I just can't help asking you questions on and on. But the next week, the speaker we have is speaking on our why, and that's what I think you've kept me, and maybe we'll reflect on that. Is what are you without your titles, without your accomplishments, without your 10 standard marks or 12 standard marks or your high points? So without all that, what are you? I think maybe whether we have a story to tell or whether we have done something, that's another imposter syndrome which will catch us. But yes, Deepak, you can take over. Let us reflect on that.
I'd just like to add to this. So
Yeah.
whenever a leader walks into a room, I just tell him, please go out and drop your armors. And they don't understand what I'm not carrying anything. I'm just carrying my phone. I said, no, phone is fine. Please go out and drop your armors. So I keep telling them, they keep asking, what are my armors? I said, your qualification is your armor. Your designation is your armor. Your number of years of experience is your armor. Come in the room unarmored, because only then you will be willing to listen, absorb, and apply. If you come armored, we're all armored all the time. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. We don't listen. We just, again, as he rightly said, Javed we're not listening to talk. We're waiting for the other person to shut up so that I can talk, because I want to talk about myself. That's what we do. But that's
Thank
with
you.
all of us. I'm not pinpointing it. We're all the same.
Thank
So
you. I think great
You know,
insights. Great insights.
thank
you
you.
know,
Thank you.
Abhijit in flow when asking questions and Richa with her answers. I thought this will keep on going on for the next one full hour. I may or may not get a chance to even say something. However, I want to just say something. There are these 3, 4, 5 people whose cameras are on, and I would like to take Naveen in. Naveen, he's been there continuously since we started, and he's put 2 or 3 interesting questions in the chat. And he was
So
also part of the book which we recently published in Bloom, where 17 people said their stories. So how many were there? 15, 17,
15.
15.
15 of us shared our life stories to help, people who are reading the book become better. Naveen, you had 1 or 2 observations and 1 or 2 questions. Go ahead and start asking Richa directly. Go ahead.
yes, please. Hi,
Um,
Ravi.
Hi, Richa. So I wanted to ask you, like, before when I used to tell my stories, I used to go way beyond, like, and then I felt that I have already lost the way. I have to come back, and till then the time is already finished. How do we control our stories so that it should be impactful? It should have the value to give to the audience.
when you're telling a story, always remember you have to create a loop. Where you start, you have to come back to that only. Just like
Hmm.
you're flying a kite, you can't let go this one end, the manja. Otherwise, the kite will just go. You have to keep a tight rope.
Okay.
Thoda sa
Okay.
dhila, thoda sa right, so that it is always in your hand. Similarly,
Hmm.
when you start saying something, you have to end it so that the start and the end make a connection. You can't start at a random place and you end at random. You always have to remember, in the end, you always have to tell the audience कि मैंने ये कहानी बतानी शुरू क्यों की थी. What is
Hmm.
my takeaway? And this will again come with practice. So the best thing is, if you have to tell a story, you can either write it down and see, is the beginning or the end making a connection? If not, either you have to delete the content, improvise it, or add it. And again, for that, if you want to practice that, again, read a story, read some story. And you can read any story, even fiction will do. That will help you tell how to make a connection between start to end. For example, I'm just taking an example. Naveen, you're narrating a story about how you landed on the crucial day of your IIT entrance. I'm just taking an example. You landed at the wrong center and there were just 20 minutes, okay? And you had to run this that, and at the gate the person who stood there, he was totally nonchalant. He didn't want you to kind of enter. You were late. How somebody helped you. So that day you realize that how important it is to have a connect with the common man, something like that. Now when you end the story by saying that was my day when I realized that how common people have extraordinary, uncommon uh, trust, or maybe bravery, somebody helped you reach the center, something like that. So why are you telling the story in the end if you're saying every common person is very uncommonly brave, or they have uncommon intelligence, or uncommonly they trust? Why are you telling this? Because you started your day with something which was totally you had not anticipated. You landed at the wrong center. There was nobody, no help coming in, and suddenly one common man came and helped. So
Hmm.
you have to make the connect. And the best way is you write it, you narrate it, you read it, you tell it to somebody and see what is their feedback. And this will come with practice. You can't be going absolutely right in that first story. You maybe, you may not be, but it will come with practice. Keep on reading, rehearsing it, writing it. See if you need to delete some content, you need to improvise it. Read some stories. And I mean, in my workshops, at times, I tell them read children books, The Hungry
Yeah,
Caterpillar, because
yeah,
they are the simplest books to read and make a connect. If you read this book, it's a beautiful book, Hungry Caterpillar. There's a caterpillar who's hungry, is eating, 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 and in the end, he's got a stomach ache. When he gets over, he starts eating again. They make a very beautiful connect. So read any story, fiction or non-fiction, and see how this connect develops. And this will come. If you think कि नहीं मेरे उसमें connection नहीं बन रहा है, बहुत लंबा जा रहा है, तो आप उसको लिख के या तो ट्रिम करो, रिहर्स करो, टेक फीडबैक, एंड देन कीप ऑन practicing it.
yeah.
And practice
Yeah.
has two connotations.
Okay.
Read other people's work and then narrate yours and see, are you at par or not? Yeah, tell me.
I have one more question. Like, I have a lot of struggle stories,
Hmm.
but I feel that if I just keep on talking about my struggle, then everybody sees such a sad person. He's always having some struggles.
Hmm.
Because can we have stories where it's only about happiness? It's not about any sadness. Because I feel people connect when there is a tragedy. If there is no tragedy, people they don't get. If I tell only about my happiness, okay, I did this, I did that, people are not interested. But I am also
And
like into telling stories in my public speaking sessions, and I feel whenever I told a story where I was deeply shattered or heart was broken, then people actually connected. Now how about if I just keep on telling all the stories that my heart was broken so many times in my life? Is it correct, or should I go with some stories where it was about happiness also?
three takeaway, 3 points here. Number one, when you tell your struggle stories, oxytocin gets released, which is the empathy hormone. So definitely oxytocin, itna powerful hormone hai that people will connect automatically. Are bichara, struggle kar raha hai. Oh, that was me also. Right? And we genuinely like people who are struggling because they don't thwart us. हमें परेशान नहीं करते ना, क्योंकि वो तो खुद ही बेचारे struggle कर रहे हैं. So we are also struggle कर. That's one. If you tell a happy story, endorphins are released, which are the happy hormones. And they also have a pretty decent effect on the other person. So it's not you should be telling the sad story. But the third and the most important reality is people view you as your narratives. So if every day on, let's say, Insta story, I post ki, you should never trust people, people are the biggest disappointment. People who are reading my Insta story will think something wrong has happened. Somebody has duped her. She's been cheated off somebody. That's why she's posting. So we are our narratives. Whatever the narrative we tell the world, people assume that this is our mental. You may be extremely happy, but you may be writing a sad shairi. That's okay, perfectly fine. But you're right. People will view you something sad has happened in Naveen's life. That's why he's writing. So either you become it's okay, I will write what I want to write. If I want to write 10 sad stories, let them think I'm feeling sad, it's okay. But if you want the world to change the narrative about you, you'll have to post a different narrative. The choice is in your hands. It is your story, it is your will. Whatever you want, you share it and forget about what people will say. 10 people may like it, 10 people may not like it. If your content is good, if your story is real, you will have the audience. That is what matters. You can't be, as Steve Jobs says, if you want to keep everybody happy, please go sell ice cream. No, that's not happening. Share what you want to share. It's okay if they want to think you are sad, fine. It does not matter. Nobody's coming to help you. No? So if you've got in your antic 10 sad stories and 10 happy stories, keep on sharing. Maybe you can one day one sad, happy, sad, depending on your mood. It is what matters. Nothing else matters. And of course, if you're sharing a story in a business context, then the context is very important. Then you can't be picking up anything which you like. Then you have to see the context of the audience where you're sharing. But if it is a random thing, you're writing something on LinkedIn, you write it. What you feel is right. What people have to perceive about you, they will perceive. Because I'm saying we are what our narratives tell the world. So if 10 days, if I write about struggle, the 11th day, my people know to me and say, what is the problem you're facing? Come on, tell me. Nobody will assume that this has happened in the past. मैं तो ऐसे ही लिख रही थी. So this happens. But ultimately, you have to take everything with a pinch of salt. It's your wish.
But like every story which I have, they have a silver lining. Means
So
I have
so that's
struggled and I have come out of it, and I am a
yes.
different person now. So
Yes.
is it okay to tell all the stories? I have so many stories.
Again, up to you. It's totally up to you. You can even add a disclaimer that these
Mm,
are the stories which have shaped me, because had
mm,
I had not gone through this, I would not have become what I've become. So
mm.
again, I'm sharing a very personal, vulnerable story that I was sent to the hostel at the age of 6 years of age.
Okay.
And I, for the longest time, felt that, I was the bad kid in the family who was sent to a hostel because I was not probably doing well. But
Mm,
today I realize that had I had not started my schooling that way, I would not have become what I've become. So today I'm in a situation that I can go dance alone on the street and I don't care whether anybody is watching or not. I can go eat in a restaurant alone. I can go watch a movie alone. The fear, the social consciousness is totally gone. Why? Because I faced it at a very, very young age. So we are shaped by what happens with our lives. There is no problem in sharing the narratives and giving a disclaimer that the reason I'm sharing this story is because this was the silver lining and this is how it shaped us. I'm sure a lot of people will relate to what you have gone through, whatever, you
So,
know.
just to interrupt, Richa, is there a formula, like a framework? Let's say Manmohan Desai used to have his formula. He used to have everything, or like that medical doctor, he gives all those pills which will work for everything. Something
Hmm.
will work, and uh, it would be effective. So, do you have a formula, or you just try everything, whatever works out, something will work out?
Formula for sharing your stories,
So
or
like Manmohan Desai, his films with Amitabh, he used to have songs, he used to have fights, he used to have emotion, he used to have drama, he used to have everything. So do we stick to a humor story, emotional story, a real story in one talk? you mix everything, or you stick to only one context? Is there some formula which is more or less evergreen, or I would say will work in all situations, or you just need to be contextual?
Yes. So the formula is something which you will apply once you enter the room. So the idea is enter the room 5 minutes before your actual time, gauge the audience, and then get the idea which formula will apply. Can you use humor with such audience? Can you use pop culture references here? No, it's a very senior leadership team. They would not like if I give the quotation of Kung Fu Panda or Harry Potter. They might trivialize it. I need to give them a solid business story to bring home the point. Can I use humor? No, they're very uptight. They might think humor is something which is, going to trivialize everything. I can't use. So you have to gauge the audience. And that is why I say, as a storyteller, more than the cognitive intelligence or the emotional intelligence, it is the contextual intelligence which is very, very important, because that will set the scene. And as you deliver, let's say you're going towards the end, you will automatically realize, can I end it with something humorous, which can be a take home message, or I have to be very uptight and serious? It'll depend on that. Depends totally on the audience. If I'm at a gathering of, say, students, and towards the end I feel the ice has already been broken and they see me as somebody who can actually help them in their entrepreneurial journey, then I can share a personal story. Then, I had so much of a problem deciding the name for my organization, or I went for funding and this is the disaster I did. Depends totally on the energy of the room. See, I always tell, in today's time, we are not our designation, we are not our qualification, we are the energy. People gauge energy. If they like your energy, no matter whatever content you say, they will take it in a positive way. So the first 2 minutes, when you bring yourself forth to people, your energy will set the tone. You will get the feeler yourself, how uptight, how serious, how relaxed you can be with this audience. There is no one framework, one fit formula for everything. It will depend room to room, audience to audience. Yes, you can use the frameworks, yes, you can keep them in the background, but again it might fall flat. आप प्रिपेयर करके गए हो कि मैं ये बोलूंगा, यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा एक ह्यूमर डालूंगा, वहां जाके you see audience leaders sitting like this, not ready to listen to you, कि ये एक और आ गया 20 मिनट मेरे बर्बाद करने. So what is it that you, so again, energy, room to room, it will happen, so things can fall flat. Best of the stories you have in the antique, they'll fall flat. I've been in rooms where I've said interesting stories and people are sitting like this, ki, oh God, this is so boring. You have to face that. And then possibly, you can, and I'll tell you, in one of the workshops, I said that, I had come prepared with 4 stories, but looking at your faces, I'm going to just restrict to 2, because I'm not liking the kind of faces I'm getting. I thought you'll burst into smile, but it's okay, it happens. I shared my vulnerability. One time my slide deck froze, and I simply told them I really wanted this to go very well, but it's not going very well. People laughed. People leaned in. Ki, oh God, yes, it has happened. So you don't know. This is the magic of storytelling. Sometimes impromptu moments become your winning moments. आप पूरा prepare करके जाते हो, वो कुछ नहीं होता. आप एक line ऐसा बोलते हो, it breaks the ice. But again, you have to see the context.
Yeah, that's what now I understood why Deepak does not sing always. He sees the context and then only he sings.
Before we close, Amit will make it a point to ask me and remind me कि आपको गाना गाना है before closing. तो आज का गाना तैयार है, but we still have time. So 2 or 3 things. One that Naveen, all I can say is you are blessed. Most of us search for stories from our life. कौन सी बताऊं? You are saying I'm spoiled for choices. इतनी सारी stories है कि मैं बोल सकता हूं. So you have got so many opportunities.
Start.
Yeah.
I would just say one word: start. Forget there
Yeah.
is an audience. Dance as if no one's watching. Write as if
Yes.
no one's reading. Because you know
Yeah.
what? There are people who might read and sleep that night better because of your story. And if that
Yes.
happens, your reason, your why as a storyteller is sorted. That's my ultimate dream. If you ask me what is my dream, I am not looking at a million rupees. I'm just looking at the day somebody sleeps better after reading any of my stories. I think I've done it. I've made it. I'm happy.
Oh.
So
So
please share
you've
your
been
stories. There might be a reason for somebody to heal, to feel better, and to go on with life. Yeah,
We,
please do
What
that.
you said?
we spoke about emotions, we spoke about happiness, we spoke about sadness, we spoke about endorphins and hormones. And I immediately saw Dr. Alka raise her hand saying she wants to come in. So she's a practicing doctor and she will talk a little bit about all those hormones. But before that, there is this thing which I say, and I think I have repeated this before. When you are happy, you enjoy the music. But when you are sad, you understand
To
the
understand the
lyrics.
lyrics. Absolutely.
Let me bring in Dr. Alka, and then what I'll do is, I mean, I could go on asking many questions, but Tanya has also been there, and her camera has already been on continuously since she was there. So I'll bring her in also. But first, Dr. Alka.
So thank you,
Hi, Doctor.
Deepak. You're always very kind to put your attention to everybody. Richa, I missed your talk in open mic the other day, and I put up a message for Richa Wahi in my phone, and I was searching and searching for your number. I got your number, and by that time something happened, and I could not save your number. So
No.
today I know who Richa Wahi is and why she's talking the way she's talking. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I love your take on whatever you're saying, and I love what you said about we are just waiting to talk, and we are having OCD as speakers. We have compulsion that we have to speak something, and that is one thing that I think a good speaker has to control. भाई सब कुछ नहीं बोलने की ज़रूरत है थोड़ा भी बोलेंगे तो you can make an impact. And the second thing that I wanted to share was that when we are sharing a story, our story, why we are sharing it is because the lesson that I have learned in that story, whether I learn it from my patients, I get like in a day at least about 100 to 150 stories every single day, because that means number of one patient can have 2 or 3 or 4 stories. So let us say I have a story bank of, I don't know, so many stories. After every patient, I just write down the bullet points of the story that he's telling, and somewhere it gets connected to my own story. Why I'm telling you this is because, like what Naveen was telling, that he has struggle stories. Today also I have struggle stories. I told that the other day on a big platform. I said my son walks. They were talking about rejection. So I said, rejection. What do you know about my rejection? So he said, what? How can you be rejected? I said, my son walks in front of me. He doesn't even say hi to me. He just walks away. That is rejection. I feel rejected. Oh my
I'm in the
God.
same
And
boat.
it just
I'm in the
turned
same
into a thing. हाँ आजकल बच्चे बिल्कुल रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करते. मैंने कहा रिस्पेक्ट की बात ही नहीं है. This is about being involved in your own self as an adult boy. He's like 35 or 36 maybe. Maybe he's turning 40 also now. So I don't want to tell my age. So I'm telling this because the stories are the real life, what we are going through in our life. And
Yes,
also,
yes.
and also the solution is, what is the solution to that? अगर आप स्टोरी बोल रहे हो तो आपको सोल्यूशन तो बताना ही पड़ेगा. So thank you, Richa, for this great session.
So
I really enjoyed listening
solution
to you. Yeah.
solution बस यही है कि आपने क्या कुछ सीखा या आप अभी
हाँ
कुछ जर्नी पे हैं कि शायद कुछ समझ आ जाए इससे. इवन दैट इज अ सोल्यूशन. कि कोई
हाँ
सोल्यूशन नहीं मिला है. आई एम स्टिल कंफ्यूज. आई स्टिल गेट इरिटेटेड. सो आई हैव अ टीनेज डॉटर एंड शी brushes past me at times. I'm still dealing with it. Sometimes I get irritated. Sometimes I realize that I was also probably like this. And sometimes I feel happy. At least she's not messing with me. I'm doing my work. So we're all, kind of in this together. And that is why I say I've now understood the universe is made up of stories, not atoms. We are always talking in stories. Our conversations are nothing but stories. This is also story sharing. You shared something, I shared something, Naveen shared something. So we are actually made up of stories, not atoms. Yeah,
No,
true. But thank you so
Doctor,
much for your
Doctor,
kindest
Dr.
words.
Alka said, I will not share my age. So let's do a little bit of guesswork. If her son is 35 years old and if she got married at 25 and 2 years later she gave birth to a child, she is actually 62. So you are a senior citizen, Dr. Alka.
No. I'm only 16 years of age, and I've always remained 16. That is why I have
Yeah.
Yes,
that energy
yes.
and adaptability.
We are not
Today,
our age, we are our energy. So
absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
it. So age is gone.
Yes,
So,
thank
so
you.
So let's bring a
I knew
actual.
when somebody talks of something like this, Deepak will always jump back to that age.
Let's actually bring in somebody who is 16 years old and let's bring her on. Tanya.
Tanya, yeah.
So
Hi,
happy
Tanya.
to see that you're assuming that I'm 16. Thank you so much. Yes, but I absolutely enjoyed being a part of this. I could really see how Richa, she's so passionate about storytelling that her energy was literally calling for attention again and again कि आओ सुनो मैं क्या कह रही हूँ, बहुत important है, तुम्हें जानना होगा. So it was that powerful and impactful. And I've heard her speak before. I'm hearing her speak again today. And the kind of insights you carry, Richa, literally there's fire that I'm experiencing. And maybe it is
Thank you so much.
because of how authentic you have been in sharing your stories and the journeys of all the people that you worked with and the people that you've helped. So a lot of it I was able to connect with, especially the part where you said it's about how you are being vulnerable, and it's about how you share the story and help them take a key takeaway, because at the end it is the perception, right? Even if I share one story right now, there could be something that you take away, Dr. Alka takes away, Deepak sir takes away, right? All of us will take away something else from the story, but it is very important that we summarize or bring back to why we shared what we shared, right? And so that we are all in the same zone. And energy part, absolutely connect with it. Yes, it's
Yeah.
it will
Thank
give
you.
again to stick to
Thank you so much.
yes.
Tanya, thank you so
Tanya.
much.
Yeah, and it is now exactly 1:30 on a Sunday afternoon. But before I hand it over to Payal for the official closing, and before Amit says कि see he's already unmuted himself, वो बोलने वाला है कि
आज
दीपक सर
आज
आपका
दो
गाना
गाना
बाकी है.
गाना पड़ेगा, लास्ट टाइम का पूरा नहीं हुआ है.
करेक्ट, 2 गाना रेडी है. एक्चुअली मैंने 2 गाना याद निकाल के रखा है आज के लिए, स्पेसिफिकली स्टोरी टेलिंग एंड सॉन्ग्स के लिए, और दोनों का मूड अलग अलग है. वन इज रियली फास्ट एंड इट गिव्स आउट अ मैसेज, एंड द अदर वन इज रियली स्लो, बट दोनों स्टोरी टेलिंग है. So now you will have to bear with me singing on live on the session. One song I will never forget. मतलब नींद में आपको उठाओ तो फिर I will sing this song. एक हसीना थी, एक दीवाना था, क्या उम्र, क्या समा, क्या जमाना था. So one was that music. I mean, वो याद आ जाता है, ऋषि कपूर singing in front of that screen. And the other one, थोड़ा हल्का सा फुल्का सा, एक था गुल और एक थी बुलबुल, दोनों चमन में रहते थे, है ये कहानी बिल्कुल सच्ची, मेरे नाना कहते थे. So storytelling, story songs, you will never forget these songs. मतलब वो तो बिल्कुल याद ही रहते हैं. You can never forget this. So Amit, ये 2 गाने मैंने याद करके रखे थे. I was sure you are going to say this, so I was prepared. Payal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank you, Deepak sir, for wonderful hosting. Richa, welcome, and thank you for sharing the space. Thank you, dear audiences. And before we wrap up, Richa, one question I have, and I want to ask you, if you could
Please.
glorify one universal truth for everyone today, what would it be?
Your story is told in rooms when you exit them. Make sure it is real, authentic, and it is something that drives home a point. So कहते हैं कि in the end कहानी रह जाती है. So eventually, when we exit the stage of the earth, what remains is our stories. So I'm not saying they have to be powerful, they have to be real, authentic, and just ensure that they bring home a point. And again, what I said, be real, relatability will follow. Don't chase relatability, chase reality. Yeah, that's
So
my
what the contents will be, what they take it to their heart.
yes.
It's very
Absolutely.
important because the speaker needs to give you those 4 things. People need to discover something. They need to be inspired. They need to be surprised. And finally, what they took it to their heart. So that you can be the talking point in conversations wherever they meet a new person.
Absolutely,
Thank you,
absolutely. Thank you. Pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a great audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, and see you all to our next week, next Sunday, 262 Bloom Talk Show. Namaste.
Yes.
God bless us all.
262nd Sunday Bloom Talk Show. God bless us all.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, everybody.